Hey, just really quickly, this is Scott cutting in before Nolan does his intro to let you know that in a couple days, there's going to be another episode coming out, a special episode. Nolan and I went to the press conference with Rodrigo Lopez and a couple of other guys from the club, and we were able to have a few-minute conversation with them. So we interviewed both Rodrigo Lopez and Mark Briggs. So be on the lookout for that. After the audio plays, Nolan and I take about 5 or 10 minutes to kind of talk about that person and what we expect kind of the upcoming season. So if you like that, let us know on Instagram, Facebook, not Facebook yet. Spoiler. Instagram, Reddit, all those type of things. And we are going to also be at an upcoming media day, which hasn't been announced yet, but it'll probably be toward the end of January. So we will let you guys know when that is so that you can get your questions into us again, like you did for that upcoming episode. All right, well, on to the normal episode.
Hello and welcome to the 916 Republic Podcast. I'm your host, Nolan. Tonight, we are here to talk about the best Sacramento soccer moments of the past decade, because there's nothing like bringing in the new decade by talking all about the past decade. Never mind, if I were to hear one more podcast or see another Instagram post about the last decade, I would lose my mind. Instead, the boys here at the 916 are going to talk all about the Sacramento midfield. Sitting across from me is one of my best friends from the past decade. He predicted the return of Roro before rumors of it even began to emerge on Reddit. Scott, you are a legend. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you doing, Nolan?
I'm doing good.
We're actually sitting across from each other. Normally it's Zach and Nolan sitting next to each other looking at me, but now we're like around each other. Like we're around a table, which is nice.
It's much more organic, natural.
I can see Nolan's face.
This decade is already getting off to a better start than the last one.
Superb.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Good.
Keep
good,
going.
Good. Sitting to my right is another one of my best friends from the past decade. I love him so much. Zach, how are you tonight?
I'm doing real good.
Wow.
Do you remember me from the beginning of the decade? I don't think we were friends
I think
then.
you were just a little egg.
You weren't even in California.
I was a little lad in the cold
Minnesota
tundra of Michigan. You always say Minnesota. It's not Minnesota.
Same thing.
It's not.
No, it is.
It's not even like next to it.
No,
You have
same
Minnesota,
It's the same.
Wisconsin,
It's the same.
a big lake, and then Michigan.
It's the same.
You know what? I'm not doing good.
Just
Nolan.
because the side on the left of Lake Berryessa is different from the side on the right of Berryessa.
Bro, Lake
doesn't mean
Michigan,
that they're
Lake
different
Michigan
places.
is like 1,000 times bigger.
What about
than
Lake Tahoe,
Berryessa.
Nolan?
Just because the land on the left side of Lake Tahoe is not on the same
Would you
side as
just
the right side
admit
of Lake Tahoe.
your faults.
Yeah, those are different places, though.
Okay.
Those are different states.
But okay. But you would still say I went to Tahoe if you went to either side.
But if you said I went to Nevada, that doesn't mean that you went to Tahoe, which is Zach's point.
Yes.
He lives on the other
So,
side.
Thank you
You're right.
for
I stand
confirming
Nolan,
my
you're just being funny.
frustrations.
I get it.
I stand corrected.
I get it.
I'm just kidding. I'm doing good.
Good.
Well, let's get into some news really quickly now that you've probably turned off the episode.
Mhm.
Yeah, for real.
The USL schedule has not been released. People were like, where's the schedule? Where's the schedule? Well, it apparently is supposed to be released either Monday, so you might be listening to this Monday night, maybe Tuesday morning, so the schedule might be out. I also have seen something saying that it's going to be released on Wednesday. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, somewhere in there, somewhere this coming week is when we're expecting the schedule. So just keep your eyes open for that. I also saw something that maybe just the home openers are going to be released, which is fine. Like, so we might learn who our first home opener is. Whoop-de-doo.
Can I just say something about this?
Sure.
This seems really late in terms of like a schedule release. How?
It's because of Miami FC was added in late, and
Yeah.
you have to release the whole schedule at the same
That's just annoying when
time.
you're trying to figure out away day plans. Like, how do you expect anyone to make it to an away game?
I mean, you've got 2 months.
That's true. And then if the later games, you still have 6 or 8 months.
Yeah.
Still.
I
want to know.
It came out about
It
this
does
time
seem late,
last
though. It
year.
does definitely
Yeah.
seem
I
But,
think
like,
it came out about this
The
time
MLS
last year.
schedule is already out. I'm sure other leagues have their schedules out way earlier.
Yeah, but Major League Soccer isn't adding a team
that's true.
in like November
That's true.
and then like, oh, okay, what are we gonna do?
Yeah.
You know.
Fair point. Fair point.
So anyway, in other news,
Something that's not up in the air.
Rodrigo, air quotes, Roro,
baby.
Wow.
and air quotes,
And air-
Lopez, club legend, has re-signed with Sacramento Republic
Club
Football Club.
legend, international legend. Okay, who is Ronaldo? All right, Messi. Am I saying that right? I don't know. I don't care.
But you know who Roro is.
But I know who Roro is.
Zach.
And if there is not
Okay.
a statue made of this man
Yeah.
in the new stadium in the old rail yards, I will be livid. Okay? Livid. This man, 32 years old, played in Mexico since 2016. He has 20 goals, 19 assists all time for Sacramento.
That's 2 seasons.
2 seasons.
Short seasons compared to what they are now.
Seasons. That is 39 points in 2 short seasons. The man can play all over the midfield, and he has a cracker of a shot.
Oh, I thought you were going to say of a barrel. Cracker Barrel.
No, but that is a great restaurant.
Oh, thank
Screw
you.
that place. I
It
hate
is.
it.
What?
It's- I do.
You can get
Dude, hold
your
on. No.
mama's-
We've
Whoa,
had this
whoa, whoa,
conversation
whoa.
before.
Nolan, you don't like
dis-
In-N-Out.
You don't.
I like
disown-
In-N-Out.
Oh, sorry.
I don't like
Check that. Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A.
You don't like Chick-fil-A,
Yeah, he
and you
told
don't
me
like
that.
Cracker
I
Barrel?
don't like home
You
cooking.
can't. What?
is-
Bro, there is no
It's-
place where you can get your grandmama's
Gotta get some
Your
cheesy
grandmama's
great biscuits and
cooking and also go to a garage sale all at the same time.
Yeah, no.
It is a
Except your
unique-
grandma's house.
I'm
It is a
good.
unique, wonderful experience.
I'm just
happy
so
for you.
disappointed in your
It's just
family.
not that good.
There's
No, I went there a ton with my family from Pennsylvania, and they're like smelly old people, so that's why I have such bad.
He has
feelings
bad
about that.
memories, bad juju there.
okay.
Well, Roro is here.
I bet he likes Cracker Barrel.
I bet he does because
No,
everyone
he
does.
doesn't.
Everyone likes Cracker Barrel, Nolan. We're off to a great start on this
This is a
episode,
great-
guys.
It's
You know what?
start to a new decade, everybody.
When we see him tomorrow, I'm gonna just to clear the air. Do you like Cracker Barrel?
We've had literally 0 questions from anyone
Yeah.
about this, but we need to know.
Yeah.
This is
Roro.
Quality
We need to
investigative
know.
journalism.
Have you been to Cracker Barrel? in
And did you
Sacramento yet?
enjoy your experience?
Well, because Sacramento just got a Cracker Barrel
like not too long
after
ago.
he left. So
See?
It's like,
New
bro, have you
things.
been? And you should if you haven't. Well, okay. All right. Refocusing here on the matters at hand.
So you were saying he can play all across really the center of the midfield. He can play center defensive mid, box-to-box midfielder, attacking mid.
Yep.
Everyone in Sacramento, all the fans pretty much, are
Uh-huh.
going to expect him to play attacking midfield, which would be fine. That would be amazing. But he can play the other
And
positions.
he
That's what
did
we're saying.
play. Yeah.
Yeah.
He did play 6.
In Mexico, he played primarily holding midfielder. Got a red card playing holding midfield last year.
He did
It
that.
was
He did that, yes.
Only
a
played in 3 games.
harsh call.
Anyway,
It was it was not fair.
it was a
in
rough
my
season
opinion.
for the 31-year-old, now 32-year-old.
But we will talk more about Roro and who he will be playing next to towards
Yeah.
the end of this episode.
Really quick, before we move on, do you guys have a favorite Rodrigo Lopez moment that you've seen
that's a
or
good
like
I
were there for?
did not follow the club when he was
That's true.
with the club, so no.
But you've watched
I've watched it.
highlights. Like,
so like,
is
yeah.
there anything that stand out? Like, wow, that was amazing.
Well, I feel like I'm gonna steal it. The
No, go
obvious
for it.
one. The miracle at Bonnie for me is the
Yeah.
only thing really that I know of him doing, and probably gonna steal. I'm not gonna steal the other ones because we were looking at highlights.
No,
earlier.
that's a great one.
Yeah.
Do you have one?
That's an amazing one. I think the one that stands out is that half.
The half field shot
half-field
against
shot.
Vancouver too.
Mm,
It
R.I.P..
It didn't even like he shoots it
He's well in his own half.
and it doesn't even bounce.
no.
No, yeah, it goes
It
right
hits
over the keeper.
net. It was amazing.
Yeah.
But also just honestly watching him and Jeremy Hall, like watching them in the midfield was always just, it was in the little things that you just be like, wow, like they're just so talented and they're just like their vision. Like that's something I remember a lot from Roro is his vision is incredible. And you pick out passes, you pick out players from like nowhere and it was amazing.
Yeah, I think the thing that sticks out from me from remembering Rodrigo Lopez is his longer like cross field passes. We've seen our center backs try to do it. We've talked about our center backs trying to do that this past season, and going back and rewatching highlights from Rodrigo Lopez, I was just reminded, like, wow, this guy really has got a wide range of passing, whether it's across the field, through the lines, around a player, with some curl. He loves an outside of the foot flick. He like to just like one time, just boop right past you, and then keep the passing sequence going. I think his range of passing, specifically long passes, that's what sticks out to me. Not obviously Miracle Albani, yes, half field, chip, Wayne Rooney style before Wayne Rooney did it. He learned it from Rodrigo Lopez, probably, because who hasn't seen that goal, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All those things are amazing, but I think just game in, game out, you can expect amazing passing.
Yep. Very complete player. At the USL level when he played for us, very complete player.
Indeed.
All right. I think it's time, boys.
I think it is time. Speaking of midfielders.
Yeah.
Yes.
We thought, you know what? We've got Jaime Villarreal. We've got Drew Skundrick. And now we have Rodrigo Lopez.
Uh-huh.
And Wheeler Omiunu.
Oh, yeah, that guy.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, can I just say it? People think this Wheeler Omiunu he's going to, like, start and, like, just like, this is the game changer that we've needed at holding midfield. You're wrong. Okay. So we're going to talk. We are going to talk about some players that we think could come to this club.
Yes.
And be a game changer at some position in the midfield. We went primarily like a box-to-box midfielder or a holding midfielder because we kind of said like attacking midfielder, that's kind of maybe more of a forward or winger. Like those are more attacking. We're thinking a bit more the dirty work type of midfielder. That's the midfielder we've all gone for. So, Nolan, how about you kick us off with your player?
Yes, so my player is Alex Cooper. Now, I went for a bit of an emotional, tearjerker of a story by choosing this player.
Aww.
Alex Cooper played...
Did his dog die?
No, but his club did. Fresno FC no longer are operating.
They were the Foxes.
They were the Foxes.
So they kind of like a dog died.
Yeah, they kind of like a dog died, but a fox. And so, yeah, they're not playing in the league anymore. And any player that did have a contract with them no longer does. And Alex Cooper is one of those players. There has been no news on any current contract situation with him. So I'm just going to take it
that he's a free agent.
Yeah, that he's a free agent.
Yeah.
So he's 28 years old. He played for Fresno for 2 seasons. Before that, he played for the Liverpool Academy.
Wow, I love where this is headed.
We all know how great of a track record Liverpool Academy players
Trickett-Smith
have with Sacramento.
Oh my God, I wasn't even thinking of Trickett-Smith.
Okay, so Bijev is like next to Roro on the club legend. I'm just kidding, listen.
I will fight you.
So
how dare you disrespect
Needless
him.
to say, we here at Sacramento love a Liverpool Academy product. After
I'm gonna actually castrate you so you can't reproduce.
And after not a very successful spell at Liverpool, he bounced around the Scottish Premiership, the Scottish Second Division, the Scottish Third Division.
This is great. This is going so well.
And in 2018, came over to Fresno and was integral to their 3rd place finish in the West this year. So he has a pedigree. He has already gone through the lows of playing in the 3rd division of
and he's come up.
So you're saying he's already hit bottom.
He's
So
hit
it's got to be going up from here.
Only up from here.
Okay.
There's an upward trajectory to his career right now.
All right, fair enough.
It's unfortunate that his club folded, and I think he would be a valuable addition to the Sacramento midfield. For Fresno, he played on the left side of the midfield, the right side of the midfield, at left wingback, and at left fullback. So he's extremely versatile. I'm not saying he comes in here and kicks Jaime Villarreal to the bench or Drew Skundrick. I think that he could be a solid rotation piece for midweek games, for a deep run in the U.S. Open Cup. And he also has a bit of experience that can add a bit of that intangible goodness to the team.
So for a guy that played primarily on the wing, left, right, whatever, you're thinking that he can translate into a center midfield position?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I said blah, blah, blah. Skundrick and Villarreal are probably going to be the starters at midfield. And another thing is, just because MLS is around the corner doesn't mean that Sacramento should focus only on signing guys that they foresee playing for the MLS team. Like, there still needs to be players on the field for Sacramento that have experience at the USL level.
And mentoring young players.
Yeah, no, and I think foreshadowing, we all went that route of someone that is definitely a veteran player, has played in this league 4 years,
At least.
and they can just hold down the position. There's not really question marks there.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
the potential like best case scenario I could see if this guy came to Sacramento is that he's relatively old, 28. This year could be one of like the highest performing of his career. So like he's wise and he like has all this, the mental aspect of the game just nailed down, but then he has the physical ability to execute, which will begin to diminish as he gets into his early and late 30s. So this could be like his best year at his best potential. So we could have a guy in his prime playing for Sacramento, which would be fantastic. The potential
Mentoring young guys.
yeah, exactly. The like worst case scenario is that he's 28, he's burned out from Fresno folding and going through the drama with that club, and he just never gets into good form and is a waste of a contract for Sacramento.
And perhaps maybe he just doesn't translate well into a central midfielder.
That's true. Yeah.
So I think if the formation suits, I think he'd be great. Like if there's I'm trying to think, because I just don't see him supplanting Juan Barahona
At fullback.
Well,
no, Sacramento has extremely good fullbacks. Yeah.
Right. So then, essentially, what you're saying is if he's not a central midfielder, is what I'm saying.
He's not.
So, I think there's some question marks there. But we watched the film.
Yeah.
He's very adept at crossing. He can for sure whip a ball in with that left foot, and I can't remember. Do you know? Did you look up how many assists he had? I can't remember. But
Mob said
just watching the film, he's had the past couple of years. He's got a fair few,
and we've seen the benefits of that with Sam Warner.
And that was kind of going to be my second point. Is you already have a guy that can whip crosses in on the left. So
you add another.
Yeah. But I think if you look at the highlights, you see a lot of his goal productivity comes from the middle of the park. So if you go back to like
he cuts infield.
Yeah, exactly. If you go to watch one of his goals from Fresno against LA Galaxy 2, I believe, he cuts inside and rips a shot off right from outside the 18 and scores an amazing goal for Fresno. When he played for Scotland, he cut it. There's this like really good game. Forget against who they played. It was not a big team, but it was a really good goal that he scored, and it was like his first senior career goal. And so he gets in the attacking third as a midfielder, which I think is important for Sacramento because there was so little attacking product from the midfield last year.
Yeah,
true. Agreed.
So that was I know that there's concern with him being a more lateral player, and there's concern about him being able to play in the center of the park, but I think that his ability to contribute to the attack makes him a valuable piece for a Sacramento team.
And his versatility is also something I like with a new coach.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to my player. The man by the name of Colin Martin. Just turned 25 years old. He's played both the 6 and the 8 professionally. Was contracted with Minnesota and then loaned to Hartford last year. He has played for the men's national team at the U21 level and showed a lot of promise early on in his career, so a little bit of a pedigree there. He's never really able to establish himself at Minnesota or at DC United, which was the club he was at before Minnesota. But he did show great ability at the championship level with Hartford. I'm going to get a little technical here now, okay? So bear with me. He had a passing accuracy rate of 86.5% on 50.1 passes per 90 minutes at Hartford over the 7 games he was loaned there. If he was on Sacramento's squad last year with those numbers, he would have ranked number 1 in both passes completed per game and pass accuracy. He's also had an 80.4% pass accuracy in opponent's half last season, which is significantly better than Ray Sari, who's the first on our team in that department last year at 74.
And only played half the season.
And exactly, yeah. And Skundrich, I think it went Villarreal, then Skundrich at 2nd and 3rd, who were like 72, around there, hovered around there. Considerably better than them. And it's something that we as a team struggled with a lot. It's something we talked a lot about, was creating positive passes, positive opportunities in the final third. And that number really stood out to me. It's a number that I really like. 80.4 is a really good number in that statistical category. I like those numbers. I like his versatility. I like his age. He's 25. He just turned 25. He's not too old. He's not somebody that's flashy. He's not somebody that's going to give you great, amazing highlights. He is somebody that gives you consistent, good, accurate passes, has good vision. And I think in our midfield, that's something that we could really benefit from having.
Yeah, I agree. I think his Major League Soccer experience is a big benefit.
Yeah.
I think we've seen Todd Dunavant want to bring in players that have experience in and around Major League Soccer, whether it's a 2-team or what have you. I do think that there's maybe not enough on the creative end in terms of like, if nobody else is making a run, like, he's not the type of player that'll just pull something out of nowhere.
No, he's not.
Where I think
Which could be the downside, yes.
Where I think the player that Nolan talked about is actually maybe a bit more adept at that. Alex Cooper's used to being isolated on the wing and just being told, figure it out. Where maybe the players that we're going to talk about, who you're talking about, Colin Martin, and who I'm going to talk about, don't fit that maybe as well. But you're right. I remember watching Colin Martin a couple years ago for Minnesota. And again, like Zach was saying, wasn't anything amazing. He's not maybe a match winner, but you don't need a match winner at every position. If he can do a job better than really Ray Sorry, because Jaime Villarreal's, I think his highest potential is at that number 8 position.
Yeah.
Then that's a great signing in my opinion.
And I think he, at the very least, adds good depth too. Somebody that's not too old either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is he under contract anywhere? No, he was released.
He was released by Minnesota. Well, his contract ran through 2019, and then they didn't re-sign him.
Yeah. And he was with Hartford, and we did watch some of his time with Hartford. Hartford were just hot garbage.
Which is another reason why that 80.4 stood out to me, is Hartford could not, for the life of them, put anything together in the final third.
Yeah, the passing accuracy percentage, part of me wonders how much, the reason it's so high, maybe because Hartford was pinned back in their own half for so much of the time that your passes in your own half are going to be more, there's going to be a higher completion rate than when you're taking.
But he still did average over 50 passes a game.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is a high number.
But yeah, I'm just saying I'd have to go back and see like where on the field those were coming, because you're just going to complete more when there's less pressure on you.
So and we've seen it with Sacramento too. If you are in the opposing team's half and you're just going fullback, center back, fullback, center back, fullback, center back, and you're just cycling. If he's in that cycle, then like if he's constantly just going, sideways, and not making enough penetrating passes, because he could pass forward to a fullback, or he could pass there's ways for those numbers to be deceiving,
be skewed, for sure.
And those numbers are only from 7 games.
Yeah.
So
true.
I think that kind of maybe helps in his favor to say, hey, in 7 games he did this, but again, in only 7 games, maybe there's just not enough there to see. And then he didn't make an appearance for Minnesota in Major League Soccer this year, so he needs a place to land where he's going to play. So
he seems to have kind of fallen in that like donut hole area of like has flashed at the USL level, not good enough at the MLS level.
He might even be a guy that has to go down to League One to get playing time consistently. He knows he's the locked-in starter, and then try to move up to the championship.
I think we see from his career that he's a player with a ton of potential. So he played only 1 year at Wake Forest and then went straight into the MLS.
Played U21s.
Played for the U21s. There's YouTube footage of him playing for the U21s. Don't watch that and think that those highlights are
It's against
representative of his
France,
ability.
so
Yeah,
it's not like many people had a good game
No,
against
yeah.
France.
It wasn't. I just don't think you're gonna show that well in a international game.
No,
where you're
that
not-
was one.
And
of
it's
I
a
believe he had
highlight, like,
5.
You're not looking at his whole film from
Yeah.
that game. He could have had an amazing
Yeah.
game covering defensively,
Yeah.
but that's not going to make a 2-minute highlight or
No.
whatever.
The only comment
No.
on the video was, "I think you should take this down."
Was it really?
Yeah, it was. Anyway,
This
That's
is
hilarious.
pretty sad.
yeah.
Well, let's move on to my player. It is a name that Sacramento fans should remember. It is Matt LaGrassa. Matthew, I think his name is Matthew LaGrassa. 26 years old, played in Sacramento in 2016, moved to Reno in 2017, which really hurt my feelings. And then he moved to Nashville 2018 and played there last year, 2019 as well. He is, for those dedicated fans that like to keep up on players that have moved on from Sacramento, under contract with Nashville for 2020. Now you're thinking, okay, Scott, what's the whole point? Well, he is a good player. I don't think he is an MLS quality player to get 1,000 minutes. He is probably going to be 5th or 6th in the depth chart for central
Yikes.
midfield. Nashville has already brought in 3 guys to play that number 6, number 8 role. So they got Annabelle Godoy from San Jose, Dax McCarty from Chicago Fire, and somebody else that I can't remember their name. But there's 3 guys there. So I don't think Matt LaGrassa is really going to play a big role.
Gonna be the odd man out.
And I don't think Nashville is going to keep a USL team. At least, I don't know, maybe somebody can fact check me. I should have looked that up earlier. But even if they do, it might be better for him to go somewhere where he's going to be guaranteed a bit more playing time. So maybe he could come to Sacramento. Now, if you remember his play style, it is high energy. The kid just runs. He's not a kid anymore. But when he was with Sacramento, it was his first professional year, and
He runs hard.
he runs hard.
He will take you out.
He has 8,875 USL minutes. So he's got experience.
Oh yeah.
And that's across 115 appearances. 85% pass completion in those 4 or 5 seasons. 7 goals and 8 assists. And he's physical enough to play all positions in the midfield. And what I mean by that is, if you want somebody to be a creative midfielder, he has enough of that eye that he can do it while also not giving up anything defensively. So there are some, attacking midfielders or what have you, where you put them out there to create, but they won't defend, a la Bijev up until this past year, really. And then there's some guys that are really good at passing, but they're just lacking defensively. Matt LaGrassa can do it all, and he's proficient at doing it all. So that's what you're going to get with Matt LaGrassa. Again, it's a bit longer of a shot because he is under contract, but I think a loan, and it might be like a mid-season loan, like we might get him in July or something like that
Like
to
what they
kind of
did with Enevoldsen and
Right.
The keeper.
right. So if Sacramento again is serious about results, that's what I think could happen.
Okay.
I don't think it's a beginning of the season type loan. I think Nashville is going to want to see what they have in everyone. And then when they realize that maybe their squad's not good enough and they can't afford to play him, then they'll loan him out. That's what I think is going to happen.
Okay.
We saw it with Cincinnati. Cincinnati signed a bunch of these guys from USL, and then we're like, oh, crap, the championship's not as good as Major League Soccer. And then they loaned some of them out. So,
In Nashville, I just looked it up. There is no plan of playing in the USL
oh, good for us.
for 2020.
Yeah, good for
Yeah.
us. Okay,
So
awesome. So, yeah. So if
Yeah.
they don't have a 2-team, I think it's safe to say that he's going to probably be available for a loan halfway through the season. And you might be thinking like, okay, well, like, what's the point? Well, Nolan and Zach presented 2 guys that are probably going to be signed in the offseason. So I wanted to present something a little bit different. Not someone that came from a high pedigree, Liverpool, and I mean, Major League Soccer is higher than where Sacramento is now, but somebody that kind of went the opposite route, where they played in the League 2, aka the PDL, and kind of worked their way up. Was with Sacramento, and then went to a 2-team in Reno, and then went to Nashville, and now made it into Major League Soccer, but maybe isn't quite
quite there.
there. He's kind of a tweener. Who knows?
Yeah.
He might show because of his work rate. Maybe that's enough for him in Nashville. I don't think so. I think we could have a good chance of getting him in on loan halfway through the season. Zach and Nolan's players are a bit more immediate. You know, they'll be signed in the next month type of signing. So
Yeah. I like the fact that he has a history with Sacramento because I think we see now
and fans loved him too.
Yeah, fans loved him.
Yeah.
And we see now a trend towards bringing back players who get an emotional reaction from the fan base. So like when Emre Clemente came back, what was it, in 2018?
Yeah.
2017?
2018.
2018.
Right?
Yeah, he came back for
It was like the second half
It was like
because he
half
was
of
with
the
the LA
season.
Galaxy and then came back.
Came
Yeah.
back. Yep.
And so
Roro, Cameron Iwasa.
Cameron Iwasa
Cameron
they
Iwasa's
kept
coming
around.
back,
So
yep.
like this is a club with a history now and with players that the fans can connect with. And so I think that this
Yep.
guy could be a good signing both tactically on the field, but also just in terms of fan pleasuring. Which is a weird thing. But
Well,
just
and
making
I
people
don't
happy.
think he's quite as big of a name as the other three
No,
people
yeah.
we listed. Clearly not.
Yeah.
He only appeared in 18 games, but those 18 games he was amazing
Yeah.
Yeah.
to the point where at the end of the season
Who is
we
this
were like,
guy?
dude, this guy's a penned-in starter next year.
Yeah.
Like we're pumped about that.
Yeah.
And then he went to Reno, and I don't think he had as good of a season in Reno. It was still good, but not quite as good.
Mm.
So when Nashville came calling, it was just a natural
Let's go.
switch. And I think by the time he had left Reno, we had switched coaches, so now he doesn't know the new manager and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I think well put, guys.
I like it.
If anything, he's a bigger dude. He's more physical. I think that we would really benefit from having that in our
I think
midfield.
he's 6 foot 175.
We have like Roro's 5'6".
yeah.
Jaime Villarreal
5'8".
is like 3'5".
He's very small.
yeah.
Skundrich is bigger, but I wouldn't
But he's not
necessarily say he's like
Physical. Yeah.
physical. It's not really his playing style.
He's not going to intimidate anyone.
No, LaGrassa is,
Right.
and I think that would be really beneficial on our midfield core.
Like sometimes you need okay, I'm going to use this reference having not watched any film of him, but I've heard a lot of people say that former Manchester United midfielder Roy Keane was just like gruesome to play against.
Mm.
Like would just
Well, because he actually
clearly
hurt
destroy
people.
you. Yeah. But like sometimes like we used to have that with Ivan Mirkovic. Like
Yes,
the guy
great
would
example.
literally put you on the ground to like he wouldn't just professional foul you. It was like professional foul you with a little bit on top. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? Like sometimes you need a little bit of
Sometimes
that.
you know, oomph.
You know, Matt LaGrassa isn't afraid to knock you over.
And he's a great player too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. Let's move on, boys.
Can I say one thing about Drew Skundrich real fast though?
Yeah, sure,
Yeah,
go
sure.
for it.
So I was just scrolling through the Instagram the other day.
Uh-oh.
and I
Through the
saw
gram.
that he got married.
Aw.
And did you know that his wife
Congratulations.
is like a U.S. women's national team player?
No.
What?
Yeah.
Who's his wife?
Okay. Now that I
Oh.
thought you would know this already, but
I did see he got married.
yeah, she
Didn't-
played- She was like she was running a camp with Julie Ertz.
Really?
Yeah, dude.
Didn't
she's
Cameron
a
Iwasa?
baller.
Didn't
She's
Cameron Iwasa?
a
Cameron
baller.
Iwasa got engaged.
Cameron
Got
also got
engaged.
engaged.
Okay,
I think we
that's what
talked.
it
We
was.
did talk
We
about
did
that.
talk about
I
that,
don't think
okay.
we talked about.
Drew
We
Young
no,
Skundrich
I
Drew.
don't know,
is
so.
locked in for life.
Can I just say this? Drew Skundrich looks like the type of guy I would want managing my retirement.
Yeah,
Yes.
He just,
Yes.
like,
Yes.
I trust you.
He looks
but
like
I-
he works at Edward Jones.
Yeah. Like, I trust you with my money, but I don't know if I want to have a super long conversation with you because you look a little boring. That's all I'm saying. Like,
that is accurate.
the sad thing is he's probably super nice.
And guys, guess
Okay.
what our next interview is? No, I'm just kidding.
Andy Sullivan is her name.
That's a girl? Okay,
Okay.
Andy.
Yeah, she ran a clinic with Rose Lavelle. Sorry.
Oh, Rose Lavelle, yeah.
Why you just called him boring?
She plays
He said his
for.
wife's name's a boy
She
name.
plays for.
Dude, you gotta call it like you see
Trashing
it.
on Scundo over here.
What team? What NWSL team is sponsored by Geico? I can't.
All of
read-
them?
I
It's
can't
probably a
read the
league-wide
freaking
thing.
badge.
What color is it?
Spirit.
Spirit.
Oh,
Washington Spirit.
Washington.
She plays
That's
for the
DC,
Washington
not
Spirit.
not
Oh, okay, cool.
New York. Or sorry,
Not
not the state.
Yeah. and look,
Jeez.
U.S. Women's National Team apparel.
Let me see.
Wow, good for her. That could be a youth thing
Ah.
though. You don't know.
I don't. Yeah, it could be.
See, this is
Yeah.
where our lack. See, once we were like, "Oh, NWSL is
shouldn't
not
have-
coming till
I shouldn't have
2021 or
brought
whatever,"
this
like, all right, whatever. Like,
He
we
probably
can
up
go
with
back
it.
to being misogynist pigs for
Oh,
one more year.
No, no.
That's not
Uh,
true.
No, we're not.
What
Definitely
Yeah.
Should
Anyway,
we mention something about Colin Martin? Should we bring
Colin
that up?
Martin? Who's that?
Did you bring that up?
I did not.
Should we? I feel like we
Oh,
should.
I think we should,
I think
yes.
it's actually
His
super
personal
important.
life.
Yeah, I think it
Yeah.
is.
Do you,
Colin
if he was
Martin.
your player,
Colin
This could
Martin,
contribute to his dip in playing form.
it could.
Yeah.
I don't know. Go
well,
for it.
and we talked about that. We talked about him falling in the donut hole. He last year came out as gay. Came out very publicly.
And was very supported.
Was very supported by his club. He's also very vocal about it. It was something that, like, you look him up. There are numerous interviews where he talks about it. He's very open, very candid about it.
Yeah, not pridefully vocal either. Like a
No.
respectfully humble. Like
Yeah.
I am doing this because I think it's the right thing to do.
And just very much just like, hey, this is who I am. I want to be genuine to who I am, and
So then let me ask you this: it is now 2020.
uh-huh.
We are in a new decade.
No.
If you are Todd Donovan,
Uh-huh.
who is 40s, mid 30s,
Okay.
Does that fact about Colin Martin, and I'm just being honest, does that affect your decision to bring him in to a locker room? And I'm not saying
Yeah.
physically, but I'm saying, do you think as a former professional player that Todd Donovan is, that would have an effect on a locker room? Could that be maybe somehow a knock against him just because the stereotype in professional sports hasn't quite been broken yet?
I think Sacramento specifically, and again, you said he was well supported. He was well supported by his club.
He was. Minnesota did a very good job.
Yes.
And Major League Soccer really as a whole did a very good job.
I think Sacramento would do a really good job as well.
Yeah.
I think that's something that they kind of are also very vocal about supporting and championing. So I don't feel it would be a factor in bringing him in one way or the other.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree, but I think that
But it is worth noting. Yeah.
there are some, I would have to imagine that there are general managers in world football that would not bring in a player that is openly homosexual
Oh yeah.
because
absolutely.
they feel like their excuse at least would be it's negative attention to the locker room.
I would say probably
That
most leagues.
It's BS in my opinion.
Yeah, agreed.
Because you, as a professional footballer, you have negative attention even when you're playing well.
Yeah.
So you just got to learn to manage that. But I just wanted to put it out there.
Yep, definitely worth noting.
And if he doesn't get picked up, I mean, he is a talented player, but if he doesn't get picked up, I don't think it's for that reason. I just kind of wanted to, I don't know.
Yeah.
Put it out there.
I think that's fair.
I think he would do very well in Sacramento.
Yeah.
Sacramento's a beautiful city. You should come.
Yeah, agreed. We have a good spot for you right now with our MLS bid coming.
Yes.
All right. Transitioning into the final segment
Final
of this
bid.
podcast, we will now project our starting 11.
Yeah.
Nolan, would you like to do the honors of starting us off?
As of now, not using the players that we've speculated could come to Sacramento.
Good
just
point.
only using players that are currently on Sacramento Republic FC contracts. I have assembled my starting 11. So,
give me your back line.
in goal is the man, Rafa
Diaz.
No, just Rafa. Rafa! And then everyone's supposed to be like, Diaz! And then at fullback, I have Juan Barahona and Jordan McCrary. At center back, I have Declan Keenan and Matt Mahoney. Stellar lineup.
Real hopeful there.
Only because they are the only. Honestly, I should have put Hayden Sargis. That's the center back.
That's up to you. This is your
Yeah.
starting 11.
Anyway, no, Declan Keenan and Matt Mahoney are my starting center backs. Drew Skundrick and Wheeler Omiunu.
Ooh, bold.
Starting in a two-man midfield pivot.
Okay.
Sam Warner will play on the left wing. Rodrigo Lopez will play in the center attacking midfield position. Villian Bijev will play on the right, and Cameron Owasa will play as the striker. And it would be great if Sacramento could sign a starting goalkeeper and maybe one or two more center
Okay,
backs.
so what is your formation, really quickly?
4-2-3-1 with
4-2-3-1.
Skundrick and Wheeler Omiunu playing in
The
the two-man
sixes.
midfield. No, like
Okay, 6 and 8, 6
Yeah.
and an 8. Okay,
Yeah. Okay.
okay. Zach, are you pretty close to that? Are you gonna edit some things? What are you gonna do?
Well, Scott,
Completely new
I think-
formation. 1-1-5. 1-1-5-9.
one.
That's not even 11
5.
players.
5, 6,
How many you
7.
got left at that point?
We have a goalie, so
That's
that's
with 4
that'd
red
be 8, so you
cards.
You got
3 more
left.
players.
1-1-5-3.
Yeah.
I like it. We're rolling with it. You got
Cool.
a 1-1-1. Dang. Anyway, Scott, I think a lot of my opinion has been formed based on your opinion. So I
I'm
think it would
sorry?
be only fair
to let me
if
go first.
you went
Okay.
first and then I went.
Okay, so it's hard for me to make a formation in a starting 11 void of any bias from what I think Mark Briggs, the new head coach manager, is going to do.
Ah.
I don't think Mark Briggs is going to play Roro club legend Rodrigo Lopez
Mm-hmm.
as a number 10.
Ballon d'Or 2020 winner.
Okay.
Do you know? Do you know he would have to get called up by the U.S. men's national team and lead them somehow to a World Cup in 2020 that isn't happening. That's how well
Yeah.
Rodrigo. Like he would have to
It
play
would
so
have to
well.
be fiction.
that he would have to play so well that FIFA's like, dang, we got to see a World Cup with this guy before he dies.
Yeah.
Let's schedule one
I
in
think
Iran because
It has
why
to be.
not?
Why not?
We'll stop. We'll prevent war and bring people together over soccer.
Oh my
no,
goodness.
Oh, man.
No. Moving
No.
on.
So I think that Mark Briggs remembers what it feels like to be an aging player, and not only an aging player, but a player that played at a higher level than what is the USL Championship. So super talented, but you just don't got the legs anymore. So I don't think he's going to ask Rodrigo Lopez to cover quite as much ground as you need to cover
For a 10.
as a 10.
Okay.
I think he's going to ask him to sit a little bit deeper and dictate play. And you might be thinking like, wait, what? Well, okay, Rodrigo Lopez, pretty much his entire career before coming to Sacramento, he played a 6 or an 8. He was never really asked to play the 10. He said that in an interview, like, I wasn't asked to play more attacking until I came to Sacramento, and Preki asked me to play more attacking. So he's completely comfortable with it. That's what he played in Mexico the last few years. Okay, he only played 3 games in Mexico last year.
He played the 6, yeah.
Yeah, but the years previously in the second division and the first division, that's what he played. He played defensive midfield. So I'm going to go with a 4-3-3. I'll go with the same back line for now. I actually don't know if another center back will be signed. I've said that before. I don't need to say that again. We'll move on. Same goalkeeper. Again, I think a goalkeeper will be signed. But my midfield is going to be Rodrigo Lopez at the 6, and then I'm not going to have a number 10. I'm going to have 2 8s, and those 8s are going to be Skundrick and Villarreal. If there is an upgrade to be made, I think it's probably Skundrick, and you could go slightly more attacking. That'd be fine. And then my wingers are going to be on the left, Werner, and on the right, Belmar, because you don't bring in a player like Belmar to not start him. And then Cameron Iwasa up top. I think there's enough creativity with those 3 that you don't need a traditional number 10. And if I'm honest, the traditional number 10 is kind of a dying thing in traditional football.
True.
So I think you could just say, you know what, we're going to do this. We're going to have such amazing passing and movement off the ball that we don't need one guy pulling strings. What we need is 3 guys pulling 18 different strings to make it all work at the same time. That's what I think Mark Briggs is going to do. I could also see the formation changing slightly to maybe it's more of a 4-1-4-1. Mark Briggs, I think at times with Salt Lake has used 3 center backs. I don't think we're there yet just because we don't have 3 center backs on the roster, but we could play something similar to that if we need to. He loves to use wingbacks to be a big part of the play of the offense, and I think we have the fullbacks to do that. maybe not McCrary as much, but definitely Barahona. So that's what I think is going to happen. And what that's going to do is it's going to push Barahona up a lot, and it's going to pull Werner in centrally a little bit more similar to what Aliman did. And then that leaves Belmar kind of isolated out on the right. And then you let the midfielders just interchange as they will. So with that 3 in the midfield, now they can, depending on, what happens, you can have Villarreal drop back and play the 6 and Robo play more forward when you need him. You can have Skundrick play more forward and the other 2 drop back. Mm-hmm. You can have Villarreal push forward because he did that at times last year. Not very successfully, but he can do it. So that's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know what changes you want to make, Zach.
All right. I'm very torn, okay? And I'll walk you through why I'm torn, okay? On face value, if Roro still got it in him, a front 4 of a 4-2-3-1 with Awasa up top, Warner on the left, Belmar on the side, and Roro in the 10, that sounds amazing to me. And what we've struggled with for so many years now is being able to finish in the final third and to have 4 people up top that are all strong, good finishers, playmakers. That sounds really enticing to me. Okay? So that's one end. Now on the other end, everything Scott's just said makes a lot of sense, okay? Especially with Roro being older. So And especially when you couple it with the fact that we have 2 fullbacks that are very, very strong. We have 2 really good fullbacks. So if you put together a 4-3-3, like you've said, a flat 4-3-3, you put a lot of value on your fullbacks, which I like because we have great fullbacks. So I guess I don't really have an answer, but that's kind of where I'm at. Like, that's kind of where I'm torn. And that, I think, comes down to where's Roro at? Where is he with his legs? Where is he with his talent? Where's he at? Because a 4-2-3-1 with those 4 up top sounds really good to me.
Yeah, and when, okay, Zach is very openly a Liverpool fan. So,
yeah.
Like, when we were talking, he was like, oh, that sounds a lot like Liverpool. I think Mark Briggs' style is a bit more Pep at Man City. Pep Guardiola. Like,
he's bald.
He's bald. There you go. No, I think it's a bit more getting your important players in the half spaces. So, okay, this is going to be a bit more tactical, but if you imagine the field cut into thirds vertically and then thirds horizontally, like the final, that's where we get like the final third, right?
Yeah.
The attacking third. So that middle third, that middle section of the final third, so like the top of the 18 yard box and then like 10 yards, 15 yards past that, if you go to the outside edges of that zone, that's where Pep Guardiola likes to get his dangerous players. That's where they can lay passes off to the fullbacks or the wingers outside. They can slip people, an on-running midfielder in. They can chip a ball over or whatever to a forward. There's a lot they can do from that space. A lot of different types of passes. I could very well see Sacramento playing a Pep Guardiola-esque 4-3-3 with Roro and Drew Skundrick, or Roro and Villarreal. I think Roro and Skundrick makes sense, and then you have Villarreal just shutting down counterattacks. N'Golo Kante-esque shutting down counterattacks. Okay. That makes a lot of sense to me. If you want him to be a bit more attacking. And then this way you don't put all the onus on him. You have another midfielder, which in this case we would equate to David Silva, who, like, David Silva at Man City is great, but he's not Kevin De Bruyne. Like, Kevin De Bruyne is a world-class player. Like, if you had to create a starting 11 for the world, he's probably in it because he's that good at what he does. That if you put Roro in that Kevin De Bruyne role in this type of 4-3-3 with wingers staying wide and being able to run onto balls, but also cutting balls back on the floor for a finisher like Cameron Iwasa, who Hayden Partain told us, like he just sniffs out goals. Like he just knows when to finish, like knows where to be and knows how to finish. So
He actually has the physical stature of a guy like Sergio Aguero, like
Right.
short to the ground, like gets balls into the goal from improbable angles, like a very, very
He's just a goal scorer.
goal-driven
Yeah.
striker.
yeah, so all of that is to say, I don't think Rodrigo Lopez can't do that. I just think
Better
for
suited.
really for his legs, what I'm picturing for the entire season, I don't think he can run that hard anymore. So
Fair enough.
if you drop him a little bit deeper and then ask him not to do as much running, I think it'll be better for the team long term as the season goes on.
And we could talk all about this, all we want. There are serious question marks at center back that I am very much worried about.
All right. Well, that is going to be the end of this episode. We've had some technical difficulties this episode, so sorry if it was a little quiet. But Nolan and I will be back in a couple days to discuss those interviews like we said. All right. Well, as always, glory, glory, Sacramento.